Yeah,
I mean,
that's
they are exactly the same, and everyone has got one. Thank you very much, Steve, for all the nice messages. What are we drinking, Suze, though?
At the weekend, I had a very nice glass of champagne. It was Delamott champagne. It's our 5th anniversary, so why not?
Why not?
Okay, yeah, well, where is it then?
I'll get you some.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you very much.
You wouldn't drink it now if I gave it to you.
It'd be unprofessional. You could get breathalyzed by the Greatest Hits Radio management.
Of course.
And that wouldn't be good.
Mm-hmm.
Today's confession comes from Adam, and it is called Danger, Danger, High Voltage. And can I say right at the very beginning, do not try... Should I not be doing this one?
Do not try it at home. Do not try it at home.
Do not do anything that Adam does.
Okay.
Father Simon and the collective crew. For my confession, we must travel back to an age younger listeners may struggle to comprehend. A time of only 3 television channels.
Oh, yeah.
BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. No streaming, no Plus One, no watch from start. If you missed a programme, that was it. Gone. Vanished into the ether like a sensible haircut from the 1980s. On this particular evening, I was happily parked in front of BBC One. I cannot now recall what I was watching, probably something educational and character building like Grange Hill, or a documentary about hedgehogs, or something like that. But I was invested. Into the room swept my mother. Without discussion, without negotiation, without even the faintest nod to democracy, click, over to ITV. It was time for Coronation Street.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, Grange Hill would not have clashed with Coronation Street, would it? Grange Hill would be about 5 o'clock and Cor is like 7:30.
Yeah.
So anyway, he was watching the documentary about hedgehogs, but that's all gone.
Yeah.
Because it's Corrie time.
Yeah.
For my mum, Coronation Street was not merely a television programme, it was a sacred event, a northern institution, an appointment with destiny, and apparently more important than her own son's developing cultural interests.
Wow.
Hold on. I protested, I'm watching that. I'm not missing Coronation Street for anything, she said, sounding a little bit London.
She did, didn't she?
Yeah, she really did.
That doesn't
Yeah.
track.
Anyway, the gauntlet was down and I huffed and I puffed and I deployed the full dramatic arsenal of a young boy who'd been wronged. I even pouted. And then, in a move like an early Bond villain, I stormed out of the house and sat on the curb at the end of the street. There I was, elbows on knees, chin in hands, radiating injustice.
Yes, quite right.
And then inspiration struck. And this is where you have to be very disapproving. I slowly lifted my head and across from me stood the double green doors. Now, these were not just ordinary doors. These were the kind of doors that practically hum with poor decision-making. On them were 2 signs. One was Subway, and the other was Danger of Death, Keep Out.
What?
But the most important one of those to my teenage brain was Subway. Not the sandwich shop, this is the proper sort.
Yes.
The mysterious municipal kind. Suddenly, my annoyance found purpose. I sprinted the 20 yards back to my house and retrieved the necessary instruments. Back to the green doors. They creaked open. Inside, glowing faintly in the half-light, was a box. And on that box, a switch. Not just any switch. A magnificent, chunky, industrial lever.
No.
Labelled on
and off?
What?
and reset.
Okay.
Father Simon, I wish I could say I paused.
No.
I wish I could say I reflected on the moral implications and the safety implications. I did not. Like a moth to a catastrophically bad idea, I grabbed the lever and pushed it from on to off. Instantly, gloriously, the entire village went dark. Total blackout. I returned to my curb, folded my arms and sat there, proud as punch. Well, I thought, if I can't watch my programme, nobody's watching Corrie. Within minutes, doors began opening. People emerged into the street, confused, bewildered, muttering. And the timing, right when Coronation Street was on. Father Simon, there was panic, outrage. There was the unmistakable sound of a community realising that there would be no catch-up service, no omnibus, no recording, no videos, no second chance. This episode was gone forever.
Yeah.
Did they miss Albert Tatlock's 80th party?
Okay, so is that?
Yes.
Right.
Or
okay.
is Betty Gordon's mother? Who cares? Because then, as naturally as night follows day, the fingers began to point, and astonishingly, they pointed at me. Apparently, I had the look of a wrong-un.
Yeah.
Yes,
Surely,
indeed.
even I wouldn't tamper with the village electricity supply, would I? Well, clearly now it's time to say, despite the danger, I clearly did. And so I have to seek forgiveness, not from my mother, I'm too stubborn, but to the rest of the village, who I made Miss Corrie with no catch-up and no Ray and Deirdre's wedding, or whatever it was.
Ray and Deirdre.
Is that right? I think that's right.
Deirdre and
Yes.
Ken, surely.
Deirdre and Ken.
No, well,
Clearly.
but maybe you missed the Ray and
because
Deirdre.
it was Jig. She got married to
yeah.
Deirdre for
Okay.
one
But you
episode.
didn't see it.
I didn't see it because of the,
Because of
because of the blackout.
Because the power was out.
Yeah,
That's the way that works. See, Adam, if you'd watched it, you'd have known.
Yeah.
Never mind running around turning off the power to the entire village. Anyway, Adam wants some forgiveness. Love the show, he says. What do you say, Suze?
Not getting it here, Adam, I'm afraid. It's not a democracy. It's your mum's house. If she wants something on the telly, it's her choice. You got to put up with it. And danger, danger, danger. High voltage. No. You do not touch that. I can't believe it.
Yes. Those
Danger.
dangerous green doors.
Not forgiven.
Brother Matthew?
How are you able to open those green doors? Is that anyone can open these green doors? That's going to be... There's a problem with the system, isn't there?
Shaky had a song about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to forgive because it shouldn't have been quite so easy. I mean, I'm definitely going to forgive just because the Albert Tatlock reference. I mean, come on. When was the last time he got a mention on
That's
Greatest
true.
Hits? So, yes, definitely forgiven. Well done.
Lord Gladstone gets more references
He
than
does,
Albert
doesn't
Tatlock. Okay, forgiveness for Adam, yes or no? 61054. Speaking of the confession slot, today was a very dangerous one from Adam, who decided he was so annoyed by missing his programme on BBC One because his mother switched over to Coronation Street that he basically switched off the power to the entire village so no one could watch the television or have any light in the house or heating or anything. Anyway, the people's verdict is in. Here we go.
Not forgiven, says Sarah Nexter. I'd have been fuming if someone had purposefully turned the electricity off in the middle of Corrie. Nightmare. But Simon, the mechanic of Leicester, says forgiven. I'm from the same generation. We were always getting power cuts. So much so, we always had a stash of candles in the cupboard. And Stephen Cumbria says, sorry, not forgiven. There was no excuse back then, especially with all those scary public information films back in the day about messing with electricity. The ones with the fiery trousers and melting frisbees.
Fiery trousers?
Do you remember them?
I don't remember
Yes,
those.
we
But
do,
in general, if something says danger of death,
Probably don't open that door.
just don't even
Yeah.
try. Also, but as you said, why is it even open?
Why is it open?
Send your confessions, please, to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. So it's 5:47. Let's check in with that drinks trolley. Oh, that's very nice mixture. I thought that was nice. Classy.
Yeah.
I've been practicing that one.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
What have you selected from the drinks trolley today?
Well, it's St. Patrick's Day. You might think that I'd suggest a Guinness, but I have gone for a Beamish Irish
yes.
Stout,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is also very, very tasty. Brewed in Cork since 1792 even.
Yeah.
Tasty.
Is that right? Okay. Thank you very much indeed for the splendid suggestion, serving suggestion there. Today's confession, I think it definitely is a 12.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think it's a 12 certificate. It's very sordid.
Oh. Even better.
From
You'll
Louise.
love it.
Simon, Matt and the Confessional Collective. This confession takes me back to 2018 and my hen party.
Oh, here we go.
My maid of honour had organised a brilliant day out in Brighton for me and a group of my friends and female family members. We kicked things off with a very civilised afternoon tea with bubbles, lots of laughter, lots of champagne and far too much cake. Pretty much like this studio yesterday.
Yeah.
Naturally, we couldn't let good cake go to waste, so we packed up the leftovers into a bag to enjoy later. Next stop on the hen party itinerary, an art class. Because isn't that what every hen gathering needs? A chance to wind down, relax, draw, pastels, paints, charcoal, all were available, very nice paper as well, and things to lean on. Surprisingly, we
Things
weren't...
to lean on.
Yeah, if you're drawing, you need something to
Right,
lean on.
okay. Because of the bubbles.
No, you'll smudge.
Because of the bubbles, yeah. No,
Like a
understood.
book
Got
to-
it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, something to
Pay
lean
attention.
on.
What?
Doesn't make any sense.
But this was not your standard quiet. Surprisingly, we weren't drawing landscapes or fruit in a bowl. This was a life drawing class.
Oh, right, okay.
Ooh.
So actually, Fruit in a Bowl actually does work.
Ooh.
But this was not your standard.
So, there we are.
Oh, we're there already.
This was not your standard quiet, respectful life drawing class. No, this one came with a steady stream of spirits throughout the session. As you can imagine, our artistic abilities declined at exactly the same rate as the alcohol level rose. Of course, remember, always drink responsibly.
Yeah.
Our drawings of the poor naked model, Ethan, I think his name was, or possibly Ian. Anyway, our paintings became increasingly questionable.
Yes.
Ethan or Ian seemed quite happy. He just lay there. At one point, I even had to stand next to the model and place my hand strategically while everyone attempted to sketch the scene. I don't think you had to.
I'm not sure you did.
Come on, Louise.
The results were memorable, if not exactly gallery-worthy. We gathered up all the drawings at the end with the intention of keeping them forever to laugh at, a glorious souvenir of a splendid occasion. All the Mr. Men and Little Miss characters were there. Little Miss Greedy, certainly. Little Miss Whoops and Little Miss Giggles, certainly as well. And also, who could forget Mr. Happy, who was certainly there.
That took a long way round. Goodness me.
Later that evening, on our way to the final part of the night, we passed a homeless man. Feeling generous and still carrying that bag of cake from earlier, we gave him what we thought was the leftover cake from the afternoon tea and carried on with our night feeling rather pleased with ourselves. It was only much later that we realised something important. We hadn't just given him the cake. We had given him the cake and the entire collection of drunken life drawings of a naked man, Ethan or Ian, I think, because they were all in the same bag. Some of the drawings were quite shocking and also biologically unlikely, not to say impossible.
Right.
So I would like to offer my sincere apologies to that gentleman in Brighton. I truly hope he enjoyed the cakes and also hope the surprise collection of questionable sketches didn't alarm him too much. Ideally, they gave him a good laugh. I still think about it sometimes and wonder what became of those drawings. My cousin was technically the one who handed over the bag, but I've never stopped laughing about the whole situation. Please forgive my confession. Can I have something from the tax? I've been a listener since the last place and used to listen every day while working in the cattery. An unlikely and unusual in a cattery. Not necessary to get that information, but anyway, we got the general gist even of what Louise has been up to.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Pretty shocking stuff, I think, and quite unnecessary. The way she had to stand next to the model, I don't think so. Susie?
Yeah, I don't think she needed to get that close. And I don't really think it was that funny, was it? It probably was at the time with the bubbles and the spirits and things. Yeah. And I kind of want to forgive just because of Matt's reaction to it for that reason alone. But I am probably going to say you should probably... He should have behaved better. I don't know, it's your hen do, should you? You have to be a bit debaucherous, don't you?
I don't know.
I'm going to forgive.
On one.
I'm going to forgive.
I don't know. I feel sorry for Ethan or Ian. Brother Matthew.
Yes, but I'm going to forgive. I mean, everyone was fine in the end, and your man got the cake, didn't he? He got the cake, and even some saucy drawings. And we never got to the bottom of the leaning thing. That never made sense, but it doesn't matter.
When you draw, you have to lean on something.
Because why would you be leaning? That doesn't make any sense. That's my point. But it doesn't matter, does it? It's not part of the show. But there we go with Casey and the Sunshine Band, letting me know it's time to decide how we're going to do. What is going to be the verdict, though? That's the point. Mine is that we are going to forgive because it's that time of year. 5 years. There you go.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You're now making zeros. Do you forgive Louise, yes or no, for a hen party, a life class confession? The verdict, please, 61054. First word is Simon. Just before the news, we got a confession from Louise, a sordid tale of a hen do, an art class, a life drawing session, some of the Mr. Men characters, and cake. All ending up in unexpected places. Matt, what's the people's verdict, please?
So forgiven, says Jane in Ashstead. You were doing a good thing. You gave the leftover cake to the homeless man. I'm sure he found the drawings hilarious. Lara in Scarborough says not forgiven, only because I've been on a few hen do's like this in the past, and I can't stand them. The giggling, the people in the nude, the weird-shaped cakes. No. And Jane in Burnham says forgive. Why not? It's a hen do. Hens do dodgy stuff usually. However, has Matt never done any drawing? You need something to lean on. on.
Yes.
So the pen doesn't go through the paper. Doesn't everyone know that? Well, it was the leaning that was the problem, wasn't it?
No, you have to.
But we've all understood now.
I'm writing on something, but I'm leaning on the desk.
But you're leaning against something? That doesn't make any sense.
No,
but now we've all understood, so it's
Well,
fine.
I think everyone understood, apart from you.
Yeah.
But now you've caught up. Your confession, please, too. confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Just before we head off down the confessions void, let's get something from that trolley, which hopefully will be a bit of a sharpener. What do you have for us today, Suze?
I've gone for a Sicilian lemon radler, which is very lovely. It's kind of like a shandy already made for you, but perfect for nice weather that we're having. Sicilian lemonade blended with beer, and it's only 2.5%.
All right, and that's a radler, is it?
Radler, yeah.
All right, very nice. That does sound particularly tasty. Today's confession comes from Jay. Thank you, Jay. Father Simon, Sister Susie, and the ever-forgiving Matt.
Yes.
I wish to absolve my sins about, that's up to us, I think, about an incident that happened late summer last year. Before we get into the story, I would like to give a supportive shout-out, this is mainly for Sister Susie's sense of forgiving, to all the amazing foster carers in Norfolk, who all do a fantastic job supporting children and young people in their lives, because I am one of them, and I'm not sure if that makes this story better or worse.
Okay.
Earlier in the year, I had taken our two amazing foster children to the sunny Norfolk town of Hunstanton for an afternoon of fun-filled ice creams and slot machines and shell hunting entertainment. Unfortunately, I had not looked at the tide times, and as we parked in the packed car park next to the sea wall, we saw that the sea was actually against the wall, and so there was no going onto the beach that afternoon. I noticed a multitude of seagulls perched above us, and I had an idea. Feed the birds with the loaf of wholemeal bread that I had picked up earlier. The kids giggled and squealed with delight as the birds stood on our car and took the bread from our hands and from the roof of our car. Now, if you're familiar with Hunstanton, then you will know there is a concrete promenade wall where the beach meets the arcades. And people were walking and laughing at the multitude of seagulls now feasting on our bread, some even taking photos. After the bread was gone, we went to the arcades and we returned about 40 minutes later with the prizes we had won and a celebratory ice cream, only to see that the seagulls had covered all the cars around ours in seagull waste. But our car was pretty much unscathed.
Oh.
How about that?
Nice.
To make matters worse, a gentleman was complaining at the state of his newly washed car, and I just smiled and we made our exit. My wife forbade me from feeding the birds again in car parks after this incident. So now we fast forward to a sunny weekend in September when my wife and I were babysitting our 5 grandchildren who came to stay so that their parents could have a well-earned mini break. With our 2 foster children and the additional 5, it was quite hectic at home.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I took the older 3 grandchildren and our helpful foster daughter to spend a day at the seaside. I was reminded of the no bread in the car park rule by my wife, and I agreed. The grandchildren, who are 8, 9 and 10 years old, were excited about shell hunting and feeding the seagulls. I had checked the tides and we were okay. Once on the beach and with pockets full of various shells and rocks that they collected, I began distributing the bread amongst them and gave instructions about breaking the bread into tiny pieces. They threw the bread in anticipation and nothing. We could see the gulls on the promenade and surrounding area, but they would not come to the beach. We're not going all that way. What was I to do? Simon, I took one look at their disappointed little faces and sad eyes and made the adult decision to go back to the car park and let them feed the gulls there.
Okay.
I chose a corner that had no vehicles and yellow striped lines painted, a no parking area that was right next to the promenade. Perfect. What could go wrong? Well, the feeding commenced and the grandchildren were loving it and in awe. There were so many seagulls, the sky was full of a circling mass of squawking and their little faces beaming with disbelief at the sight. I did not see what was coming. Father Simon, I don't know the correct term for a multitude of old people being pushed in wheelchairs, but I'm sure that there is one, so I'm going to go with caravan.
Yeah.
They were being pushed by a fine bunch of young people who, whilst admiring the hypnotic sight of 100+ seagulls circling, swooping and crying, had marched their caravan of old people in wheelchairs right underneath the bird mass and then stopped.
What?
The first I noticed was when one of the kind helpers had to get a tissue and was wiping something nasty from one of the elderly lady's red coat sleeves. Whilst holding her arm aloft, I froze. They were right in the danger zone, and it was then that another lady with purple hair began murmuring loudly and putting her hand on her hair and wiping.
Ew.
This snapped me into action, and I quickly ceased all bread throwing, despite the groans from the grandkids, and shouted, "Who wants an ice cream?" "Me," they all shouted. And into the car, we jumped and quickly made our escape. I tried not to look back at the horror in my rear view mirror, but did see the elderly lady with the purple hair having her locks cleaned with some tissue by one of their helpers. Father Simon, I seek forgiveness from the caravan helpers, who I am sure hadn't expected their afternoon to include cleaning what they had to clean, and from the car owners earlier in the year, and to my 14-year-old foster daughter who had warned me, but I had taken no notice. And finally, to the elderly who were affected, I'm sorry for any distress caused, but I'm sure that they had a great story to tell their friends that week, and it probably made them laugh.
Yes.
Well, did it? I'm not sure with it that would have happened. But anyway, Jay was trying to do the right thing and trying to entertain the foster kids and the grandkids, and the seagulls just did their thing. Sister Suze, what do you say?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd be that forgiving if I was wiping seagull poo out of my hair. I don't like seagulls. So, and, he is doing a very good job with the foster children, and, maybe I should be more forgiving, but I don't think you should feed birds bread to start with.
But Mary Poppins said you could feed the birds tuppence a bag.
Tuppence a bag, wasn't it? Yes. Tuppence.
I think you should feed them with seeds. I think that's a bit more better done now. But seagulls don't need any encouragement to steal any food from anyone's hands. And someone actually, when I was on a train about to come to work, a seagull tried to steal my sandwich out of my hand. And
they're
for
thugs
that reason,
and villains, basically. Okay.
I mean, they are thugs, and you can't encourage them. So for that reason, Jay, I can't forgive you.
Brother Matthew.
So Susan's had bad experience with seagulls. I haven't. They're just doing their thing, aren't they? They're a bit weird that they wouldn't eat any bread on the beach. That doesn't make sense. But it's up to them. Also, who washes their car before they take it to the beach? No sense at all.
Is that
That's
right?
what I would say. And also, why are you wheeling the old people under the massive, huge seagulls? That doesn't make sense either, does it?
Well,
everyone's making bad decisions.
They were transfixed by the image.
They probably
leave the
were, weren't they?
promenade.
But that doesn't make any sense to me, and therefore, for that reason, I'm going to forgive.
Okay, so we would like to know the people's verdict, please. Do you forgive Jay, yes or no? On the text 61054, and the first word is Simon. Before the news, a confession from Jay. An everyday story of the seaside seagulls, a big loaf of bread, and a caravan of pensioners who copped it somewhat. People's verdict, here we go.
Forgiven, says George. They say it's good luck if a bird leaves a message on your head.
no,
So
it
all
really
those old people got mountains of good luck. Brilliant. But Linda says, not forgiven. We live in Cornwall, where seagulls are an absolute nightmare. Whilst taking my young grandson out, a seagull swooped down and stole his sausage roll. Do not feed them.
Outrageous.
But Zoe from Dorset says, totally forgiven. I have George and Mildred as seagulls where I live, and they're both lovely and only poo on people I don't like.
How does that happen?
Yes.
All right, very
Well
good.
done, man.
Your
Yeah.
confessions, please, will be very welcomed. Okay, so it's 12 minutes to 6 o'clock. Let's check in with the trolley there has just gone past. Have we got anything decent from it today, Suze?
Well, I think so. I've gone for a gin, Isle of Harris gin, which is infused with sugar kelp. Interesting.
Whatever that is.
Have it long. It's from Scotland, from the Hebrides in Scotland, and you have it long, tonic with a wedge of fresh lime. Delicious.
Is that right for you, Matt?
Yeah, that's the kelp. That sounds great.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah, that's my favourite.
Today's confession comes from, well, it's signed guacamole.
Oh, guacamole.
No, just guacamole.
Oh, right, okay.
For reasons you're about to find out. Father Simon, Matt, Susie and Holly, I wish to confess a sin that I undertook many moons ago, which still weighs heavily upon my soul and my conscience. This story involves an ongoing war between my parents and some moles. They lived in a house in a small village which had 1 acre of grass where the moles lived. The battlefield was strategically divided by a gravel driveway that acted like a medieval moat, carving the land into 2 distinct territories. The larger, L-shaped in the distance, where the moles resided and constructed their annoying hills, and the sacred oval, which was near the front of the house and the moles never ventured onto. My mother maintained the sacred oval with a fanatical, bowling green precision that would make a professional groundkeeper weep with joy. For many years, the gravel barrier served as an impenetrable fortification, as the moles apparently lacked the specialized subterranean drilling equipment or skills required to breach the driveway, so they stayed on the L-shaped side. And all was well.
Yes.
Eventually, the skirmishes ceased. The molehills vanished. The tunnels went cold. And my parents declared a total, undisputed victory. They spent 3 glorious, delusional years basking in the flatness of the grass, convinced they had finally sent the enemy into permanent exile. So it now comes to my confession. It was coming up to the beginning of April the 1st, and I thought after 3 years of absence, they might have missed nature's tiny velvet-covered tunnelers and would love to be reminded of the good old days. I had purchased some fertilizer from the local supermarket and had also found a couple of old for sale signs which had been dumped, and I naturally thought they needed to be renewed or maybe recycled. So on the evening of March the 31st, I drove up to my parents' house, parked the car on the outskirts of the property, and then, ninja-like, crept onto the L-shaped grass, opening the bag of fertilizer and creating 3 beautifully looking artistic molehills.
Yes.
However, as there was some fertilizer left, I decided to put the remainder as the pièce de résistance on my mum's pride and joy. Yes, the sacred oval, a feat that the moles had never ever achieved. I then tied the 2 for sale signs at the entrance to the property and vanished into the night. The following morning, apparently it was a lovely sunny spring day, and my parents went about their usual routine, getting ready for work, when my mum looked out of the kitchen window and screamed and howled like a banshee. "Oh my heavens," she declared, "the bleeping moles are back. And they've managed to tunnel onto my beautiful lawn." She ran outside, arms flapping, then noticed the other 3 molehills. She screamed again, "They're everywhere!" My father, ever the skeptic, came out to take a closer look at the soil and realized that the dirt looked suspiciously enriched. He then noticed the 2 for sale signs. Between the fake mounds and the signs, he concluded they were either being pranked or were the targets of a very niche horticultural vendetta. And Father Simon, I'm here to seek forgiveness, not from my parents and certainly not from the moles. I need to seek forgiveness from the local constabulary. You see, my parents forgot what day it was and called the police to report a targeted harassment campaign. Thankfully, the operator was slightly more aware of the calendar, coolly responding, "Madam, before we send in the SWAT team, do you realise it is April the 1st?
Yeah.
I think you'll find it's called April Fool's Day, madam." My mother apologised, put down the phone, and declared to her husband, "The constable says it's April Fool's Day." They then tried to figure out who had done this terrible deed. And so now, many years later, I have to declare that it was me. Although it's signed Guacamole, but I think they'll probably know that it was definitely their daughter, the one that thought it would be appropriate to use ninja skills to create the return of the moles. Anyway, Sister Susie is going first here.
I don't know. I just don't like a prank. I think it comes down to that. Funny. But your mum, you said this lawn was her pride and joy.
Yes.
And I can't. She would have been distraught.
Momentarily.
That's not funny, is it? So I'm not going to forgive.
You just don't like April the 1st. I mean, most people,
No, I
I think,
don't.
have had enough of April the 1st. Matthew, what do you say?
I'm not normally a big fan of pranks, but this is very good, isn't it? I mean, and I don't understand why she's calling the police. Going to call the police on the moles? Police aren't going to do anything about that. And moles don't respond to law and order.
Targeted horticultural
harassment by the moles. But I'm going to forgive because it was great fun. Also, should have known what the day was. Why do you not know that, Barbara? I don't know whether we know her name, but let's just say her name was Barbara. So yes, so for all those reasons, I'm going to forgive.
Oh, we don't. Maybe she was Barbara from The Good Life.
That's who I was thinking of, wasn't it?
That's right.
Fabulous, The Good Life. Oh,
All
yes.
right, okay, so it's a gardening, horticultural kind of confession. Is guacamole going to get your forgiveness? That's what it's all down to. Just before the news, a confession from Guacamole, an April the 1st prank in which a daughter returns to her parents' house and the lawn that they loved more than anything else, and they thought they'd won the battle against the moles, but she had created some extra mounds, and they were convinced that they were back, and they rang the police to complain about it. Anyway, everything was fine in the end. What do we get on the people's verdict?
1,000% forgiven, says George. My parents were obsessed with their garden and used to get us all to help weeding the lawn. Boring. I'd have loved to have done this prank on them. Alice in Surrey, though, says, not forgiven. I take my gardening very seriously, and if someone ruined my lawn, I would be fuming. But Martin in Chester says, forgiven. Elite April Fool's content. You really dug deep for that one.
Dear.
Honestly, I respect the commitment.
All right, very good. Okay, if you have a confession, please send it to confessions@greatesthitsradio.